Right, Brough, I mean, it's going to have no bearing on this weekend's game, but fans love a bit of nostalgia, and you've played a big part in Cheltenham and Hereford history, being obviously playing for both and scoring against either side. So, first of all, tell me about the one at Whaddon Road when I think that's when you first caught Steve Cottrell's eye, wasn't it, in that game?
Yes, we played the week before at centre back, and one of our centre forwards went down ill overnight. So Graham Turner, the manager of the time, said, "I want to play up front today, John." I said, "Okay, yeah, you know me, I'll do my best." And it was one of the first time I'd been to Whaddon Road, and they were higher than us in the table. I think they were second at the time, and we knew it was going to be a tough game. They'd just taken Neil Grayson a few months before, so we knew that we were in for a tough match. The game, it was a wet day, windy. The pitch was nowhere near as good as it is these days. And we started really well. I was playing against Boca and Banco. Duffo was at right back and Jamie at left back. So not a lot changed over the years with Bucky in goal. So we started the game brightly. I know the ball went down the right hand side. A lad called Rob Warner, who was playing right midfield, who's usually a right back. He crossed the ball quite high into the box, and I managed to get my head on it and put it past Bucky. Yeah. Through the game, I remember the game very well. Tony Garner and myself up front, Chris Hargreaves on the left, and we particularly three of us had good games that day. Yeah. I think Cheltenham equalised, and then we got the winner through Chris Hargreaves to make it 2-1, which was a nice win. Yeah. After the game, and everyone was patting me on the back because I'd moved from the back to the centre forward and played my part in the win for Hereford.
Yeah, there's a massive Hereford following that day. I don't know if you remember, but I think all the way down the side of the pitch, which is now the Interprint stand, it was just packed, wasn't it, with Hereford fans?
Yeah, we were on a bit of a run at the time. We'd had a shaky start. I think getting used to the conference level and the different standard that we were playing out, new faces in as well. But by then we just started to get some form, and the club, the fans and the club realised that, and obviously it was a great following from the Hereford people. Yeah. And I can remember, like I say, all the way down the side, and they urged us on that day.
Yeah, I think that was around Easter time, wasn't it? And then so a few months later you were signing for Cheltenham. Hereford, obviously well documented financial problems. Can you remember how exactly the move came about?
Yes, Hereford were in financial difficulties. We didn't get paid for 6 weeks at a time, which was difficult. They offered me a new deal, but I thought I'd have a look elsewhere because I couldn't afford not to be paid, just like most of us at the time. I had a phone call off Steve, and he said, "I'd like you to come down. I've seen you play at the back. I've seen you play up front. I think," and he said to me, "If I can get half of the Hereford team, with half of the team I've got already, we'll win the league." And looking back, he was right. Yeah. So I didn't take me long to make my mind up. Once I'd spoken to Steve, he sold the club to me. So I came down and signed about a week later.
Yeah, I think you were the second of the Hereford four, weren't you? Grayson the first, and then after you, Dave Norton came that summer, and then Richard Walker, your good mate, came during the following season, didn't he?
So halfway through the first season, and as I say, he said if I could get 4 or 5 of the Hereford team, and the squad I've already got, we'll win the league, and we did the following year. Yeah.
So you all went back to Hereford for the first time with Cheltenham. Intense atmosphere as you'd expect, and the one thing I remember about that game was Cheltenham, good result for Cheltenham, but Nort's got some terrible stick, didn't he, from their fans?
He did, because Dave got a bit of a rough ride at Hereford. He struggled with injury. He was club captain. As you've seen Dave for Cheltenham, he gave his all, and he couldn't do that at Hereford because of his injury. They released him at the end of his contract, and he got himself fit enough to come on trial at Cheltenham, and he earned himself a contract. So they felt a little bit grieved that he didn't do a lot for Hereford. He was a captain when we got relegated the year before, and then he's playing against them and playing well for Cheltenham. So I know the Hereford fans had a corner at the bottom end, and he got some stick that day, but we actually scored from the corner. I think Jamie Victory scored, so it was a sweet revenge for him, really.
Yeah, and then you got a draw against them at home, didn't you? I think they had a very young team then, because obviously they'd had a clear out, but they seem to be improving, and it was a 2-2 draw, and you scored in that game as well.
I did, yes. They had Fleetwood up front at the time, and Parry. They had Parry on the left and Gavin Williams up front as well. So they were a young team. Obviously, those three have gone on to do good things in the game. I remember it was a night match. I don't remember a lot of that game apart from my goal. I was just cutting on the right hand side. I was playing at the back on that day, and I must have been up from a set piece or something. I can't quite remember, but dropped inside and shot past Andy Quay in goal. So that was quite pleasing, and I had a quick chat with Graham after, and he said you could always pop up with a goal when needed. So it was pleasing, yes.
Yeah, it's funny to think that because Hereford obviously didn't get back into the league for a while, so you wouldn't have played against them again after that, would you? Because by the time they came up, you'd obviously gone into coaching. But Cheltenham haven't actually beaten Hereford since that day at Edgar Street when you went back there and won 2-0. So it's high time that came to an end on Saturday.
Yes, and I think in local derbies, league form doesn't really come into it. Tables doesn't really come into it. It's a unique day. I know you see the big derbies in the Premiership, but it's the same for the lower leagues as well, and form doesn't go into it. It's on the day. The team that's probably more geared for that day, up for that day, they'll probably get the result, and hopefully Saturday it'll be a red shirt that gets the 3 points at the end of the day.
Yeah. Do you know Jamie Pittman very well? Did you ever play with him or against him?
Yeah, he was in my team.
Yep.
At Hereford, we lived in the digs together, so I know him reasonably well. Kept in touch over the years, so he's had a tricky start, having done so well last year and earned himself a longer contract. But yeah, he's someone that I know very well. But knowing Jamie, it'll be hurting at the moment because of the situation, the league position, but he'll be doing everything he can to get it right on Saturday.
Yeah, that's brilliant.